if you lived in a garden that was a perfect temperature all the year round and had no wind, you'd be out there all the time and the plants would grow like mad. That's a pipe dream. Or is it? We can actually moderate the microclimate and we can do a lot to improve the temperatures and the conditions in our garden. So you can see behind me there's a tree belt above the roof. Now when we came, the previous people left because it was so windy here. There were no trees. We're on the top of the hill. The winds came from the southwest, which is behind me, which is the way most winds travel in the UK. And when you opened the door to the house, all the other doors would slam behind them. It was so windy and so exposed. So on the first day we possessed the property, I had ordered the trees and I went out there and I planted the shelter belt. And they were just little trees, about 20p each, about a foot or so high. And now, obviously, they grow faster and faster each year and the effect kicks in really. And it is now so much more sheltered than it was before. It really makes it pleasant. Because a shelter belt will lift and filter the wind 10 times the height of the windbreak. So if you think those trees are probably, I would say,
9 meters high, something like that.
We are now getting 90 meters of filtered, sheltered space. So that makes so much difference. Now you might not have room for a shelter belt. You might just have room for a hedge. But even a hedge will actually do a lot of good at filtering and lifting the wind. Walls, conversely, aren't so good because if you've got a solid wall, like that, the wind comes up to it, races over it, and you have turbulence on the other side. And so you get eddies and things that aren't very pleasant to live in. Hence, when you go around skyscrapers and cities, you're often really buffeted around. But trees don't only filter the wind, they do lots of other things to moderate the climate. They actually cool it by evaporation and they warm it by condensation. So in the very hot summers that we had, if you went into the woodland, you would actually feel it quite a bit cooler, and that's partly because of shade as well, but also because the leaves will be evaporating through their leaves, and so they'll be cooling the air as they take the heat out of it to have the energy to evaporate. Conversely, at night, they actually give off heat because they give out gas with condensation, so that the gas comes out, condenses and cools this ambient air. And I notice when I go out there on a frosty day, it always seems to be warmer in the woodland. There's very rarely frost in there compared to outside. So they moderate the temperature and they also help with massive runoffs. We've been having real storms with flash floods, and if you've got an area of tree planting, it helps absorb the water so we don't have to intervene and it captures it. So they actually also filter dust from the air. So vegetation, trees, you know, they just make so much difference. And this whole courtyard was just a mass of concrete when we came. But now with the planting in it, it feels much more restful. It feels a more pleasant environment. And because of the windbreak, it's a lot more sheltered. Another way that trees help the microclimate is the wind chill factor. So if you've got a high wind and you've got an ambient air temperature of 35 degrees Fahrenheit and you've got a wind of 25 miles per hour, the temperature that you feel will actually seem like 8 degrees Fahrenheit. So that's a massive drop caused by wind chill. So by reducing the winds, you're reducing the wind chill factor, you're making the garden better, and you're probably reducing your heating bills in your home as well. So plant shelter belts, plant trees, plant hedges.